Hello. I feel short standing behind this monitor. Hello. Good afternoon. My name is Martin Broadhurst. I'm going to talk to you today about AI assistants, agents and advanced reasoning, the state of artificial intelligence in 2025. What a time to be alive. AI is the talk of the town. All of the headlines are saying AI could boost productivity in small and medium-sized businesses. The government showed that generative AI could save civil servants nearly 2 weeks a year, and it's been linked to a 4-fold increase in productivity and a 56% wage premium. However, actually, you don't have to look that far to see the counter-narrative. A few weeks ago, The Economist published an article saying that we are entering the trough of disillusionment with AI, the point in the hype cycle where everyone goes, this was supposed to be better. A study found that AI chatbots in 7,000 workplaces finds no significant impact on earnings or recorded hours. And the IMF found AI to hit 40% of jobs or worsen inequality. So it's not all positive. But one thing that's inescapable is that it is everywhere at the moment. ChatGPT launched in November 2022. Prior to that, AI was kind of a niche area of interest, exclusive to some data scientists, really. But now, all of the big investment companies and VC funding has plowed into these assistants. Gemini from Google, Copilot from Microsoft, Anthropic have launched Claude. Anybody heard of Claude? Okay, yeah, that's about 25% of the room. That's not bad. And then anybody heard of Mistral? Paul. So this is a chatbot, much like ChatGPT, that's come from France, funded by the French government as well, just got some recent funding. But this is a fast-moving landscape. And the truth is, I think as leaders of teams or as organizations, it can be hard to really understand how to deliver impact from this tech. Because it's moving so fast, the pace is somewhat overwhelming, and you don't want to invest in a pilot project when 6 months down the line, a new AI is going to come out and just do that thing that you spent 6 months engineering. And there's these implementation challenges. There's a basic AI literacy amongst teams that is somewhat lacking. And trying to get teams to adopt and integrate when you hear stories about hallucinations or data leaks, all of these things make organizations at the enterprise level feel a little bit nervous. But what I want to do today is hopefully inspire you to see where AI is heading and how you can move your organization and your team towards that future. And that is basically an agentic future. This session is going to hopefully cut through the noise so you can see what agentic collaboration between human and autonomous agents looks like. And you can position yourself and your function and your organization at the forefront of this change, because be sure it is definitely coming. Microsoft, who are obviously investing a hell of a lot of money into this space, they own 49% of OpenAI. They talk about the AI value journey having these 3 stages. At the base level, we've got this individual value that is gained by employees. This is typically through them using the assistants. So Microsoft Copilot, hands up if you've got Microsoft Copilot in your organization and you're using it? Okay. Hands up if you're using ChatGPT in your organization. Okay. Hands up if you're using a free version of ChatGPT in your organization and you've not told the IT team. That's okay. I won't tell them. It's fine. Don't do that. It's just my tip. If you are using a free version of ChatGPT, move to Copilot. Use the 365 version, please. Right, so yes, you have the chat-based assistants, and this is where you'll get the personal productivity gains. Then we move up the pyramid a bit. These are to the functional value. This is where we have agents that are assisting at a functional level. So kind of semi-autonomous agents or assistants that have been given advanced features and access to tools that are going to assist you in your role. For example, if you're in a sales role. If you're in a sales role, you could have an assistant that has access to your CRM. So it can log notes, or you're preparing for a meeting and it will prepare notes and tell you about your prospect. So these are the kinds of tools that you can get at the functional level. Ultimately, though, those are tools that are helping individuals in roles within those teams. And then at the organizational level, we have the autonomous agents. And this is where companies are building out workflows or entirely autonomous agents that are goal-oriented, capable of taking action and working towards a goal entirely agentically. But today, that's not where most of us are. As we've discussed, most of us are kind of here, where you write an angry email and you go, make this sound more professional. And it does a great job with that. It will make your email sound that little bit more professional. It's easy to use, isn't it? It's like having a conversation on WhatsApp. And the thing is, it's kind of second nature. You don't really think about what's going on under the hood. A bit like when you get in the car and you pull away from your drive. It's very easy. You're not really thinking about the actual engineering that's going on to get you from A to B. And to extend that kind of metaphor, when we think about AI assistants, ChatGPT, Copilot, Claude, we can use a crude car-based analogy. In the world of AI, the engine is the underlying model. When we think about our cars, that's what we really want, isn't it? We want the power of the engine, something that does the heavy lifting and gets us from A to B. Now, a small engine, like a 50cc engine or a two-stroke, will get you somewhere, good for zipping around a city. But the real grunt, what you want, is a big, powerful engine that gives you the speed, the power, the ability to handle different types of terrain. And this is like an advanced AI model. These offer you better performance. They're able to handle more complex queries. They're able to reason. They're able to work harder. But the engine alone isn't enough. You need a way to control and interact with it. And this is where the assistant interface comes in. So, see, when you think about ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot, actually what you're thinking about is a website or an app. These are tools and interfaces that have been designed to help make getting value from the engine easier. So like when you get in a car, you're able to drive very easily. You've got automatic clutch, you've got heated seats, you've got your sat nav. All of that is designed to help make the process of getting value from the engine easier and more comfortable. And the interfaces for things like ChatGPT have really developed a great deal in recent years. So ChatGPT, you'll be familiar with this. Lots of you in the room are using it. So you've not just got the prompt box. That's that space where you can say, ask anything. But you can upload files. You can now upload files. You can upload images. You can upload PDFs, and it can work with those. It can search the web, so it's now a kind of de facto search engine. You've got deep research where it will autonomously, you give it a topic, and it will go away and research that topic for, 20, 30 minutes and deliver a report in the format that you've asked for with citations, and it will go away and kind of do all of that exploration itself. You've now got the ability to visualize anything, and these models can create really quite interesting graphics. And you can now connect your company's own data to this as well. So your SharePoint, your OneDrive, your Google Drive can now be connected so you can work with data from within your organization. It's not going off and hallucinating things or pulling things from the public web. And as well as that, we've got the Canvas capability as well, which is where you can collaborate on a document in real time with the AI assistant. So you're not just answering in the chat, you're kind of working in a Word document with the AI as well. And all of that's great, but what we're really interested in, or what we should be paying attention to, is the improvement in the models, the engines. This is where things get really interesting. And in ChatGPT, in the top left-hand corner where it says GPT 4.0, that is where you'll be able to select the models. And we have got lightweight models. Who's only ever used a free version of ChatGPT, by the way? If you've only ever used a free version of ChatGPT, you've kind of used an idiot version of ChatGPT. Let me explain. The new models are incredibly powerful, and they've got better over time. They release new models every few months, and what kind of ways do they get better? Well, first of all, they get better at following instructions. So you can give them multi-step sequence of tasks to go and perform, and that means they will stay more closely to your instructions, delivering outputs that are more closely aligned to what you actually asked for. They have these multimodal capabilities, so no longer are we just asking them to work with text and give us text outputs, but we can talk to the model. We can have a conversation with it. It can literally speak back to us in real time as if we're speaking to a friend. We can upload photos and have it edit the photo that we've input. And the new models, we can actually live stream video to the model and talk to it with a live stream video input as well. And they're also getting these advanced, improved reasoning capabilities, which in turn is unlocking agentic capabilities. Let's unpack that reasoning thing. So in September last year, the state-of-the-art model was GPT 4.0. This is kind of the standard model in ChatGPT. These are 3 different benchmark tests that they put that model through. So we have a maths exam, which is like a high-level maths. We've got competition coding and programming, and then the GPQA Diamond, which is PhD-level science questions, about 200 questions covering biology, physics, and chemistry. And you can see that GPT 4.0, well, its scores were not great. In the competition maths, it had a 13% accuracy. I mean, it's better than I would do, I'm sure, but not great. In the competition coding, it scored in the 11th percentile. And in the PhD level science questions, it was accurate around 56%. Again, better than I would do considerably. Then they put a new model. They released a new model called O1. And this was a model that was designed to simulate thinking. It was designed to not just give you an answer straight away, but kind of work out and break down a problem and think step by step. Because what they found was when a model thinks step by step and effectively shows it's working, it gives you better outputs. And the improvement in its results is dramatic. So you can see that with the new benchmarks, O1 scores 83% on the maths paper. It's in the 89th percentile for competitive coding, and it beats human experts by almost 8 percentage points on the PhD level science questions. They've now released O3 Pro. So it's the next generation of the O1 reasoning model. And if you've got a paid-for version of ChatGPT and you haven't played with the O3 Pro models, go into ChatGPT. Next time you've got a complicated query, maybe you want to do some analysis on an SEO report, or you're thinking about getting some feedback on a strategic document. Put that document in and go into O3 Pro in the drop-down menu and just get it to critique it. I think you'll be really blown away by some of the feedback that you get. And this unlocks a whole bunch of capabilities that are really quite interesting, even at the assistant level. So this is an industry report that I took. This industry report relates to it was the steel industry in the UK. So it's a government report. It's a couple of 100 pages long. And with a non-reasoning model, you might ordinarily go into your chat assistant and say, summarize this document for a steel fabrication business serving the construction sector, something like that. And it would give you a very decent text-based summary. Great, sure, fantastic. But actually, what happens if we turn on extended thinking or the reasoning mode? This model, by the way, is in the Claude interface. They don't have reasoning models, they have extended thinking. If you turn on extended thinking, all of a sudden we can change the question slightly. Instead of saying, summarize this for this particular audience, we might recognize that that audience, they're going to skim. In fact, they're not even going to skim. They want to interact with something in a slightly different way. And we can say to it, turn this into an interactive dashboard, highlighting the opportunities and risks, and present this to our board. And the model will, in one shot, create an interface that presents all of the data with, in this particular example, because I've presented it a few times, no hallucinations that I was able to spot. And it gives you a fully interactive dashboard that you can share. You can actually publish that and share that with your stakeholders. So these reasoning models can take your standard assistance and just increase the kind of value that you're able to squeeze out of these chatbots. But let's be honest, we've heard a lot of exciting headlines about AI, and it's got to be more than text summarization that brings us to this brave new future. Is everybody concerned about their jobs from AI? You shouldn't be. But if we are ever going to get close to this world where AI is a true collaborative, almost like a digital employee within an organization, what we actually need is agents. And 2025 is the year that agents really get the capabilities to actually start providing value to businesses. So when we talk about agents, what are we really talking about? Well, we are talking about AI that can, if we take this definition, it has the ability to take action or choose what action to take. When it comes to AI, you'll hear it talked about in a bunch of different ways. And really, it comes down to, I would say, there are 3 different flavors of agent. First off, we have the agentic assistant. So this is like ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, the chat-based interface that you'll have spoken to. This is where you will see agents spoken about. Copilot, Gemini, ChatGPT, and Claude all have some version of this in some form or other. And basically, these are the agent versions of these is where you can effectively customize your use of that tool to your particular scenario. So you can train a model to behave, respond, and know things that are relevant to your organization. So you can train it to respond in a certain way, to behave in a certain way, and to have access to knowledge that you provide it. So these custom agents, you can provide specific instructions, like I say, and you can also connect them to external tools or services related to your organization. Now, in Copilot 365, you will see this over on the right-hand side. So on the right-hand side, you've got that menu at the top. It says Agents, and I think it says Get Agents and Create Agents. If you click on Get Agents, Microsoft has helpfully created a bunch of off-the-shelf agentic versions of Copilot that really, it's like using Copilot with a set of prompts that are pre-configured. So the career coach, for instance, has been given a set of instructions to help you in your role and help you plan your career and develop your career. You'll see two on there that have got the words frontier in the title. Researcher and analyst. These are models that you only get with the professional license of Microsoft Copilot, and they have advanced capabilities. The analyst can analyze your data. You can upload large data sets to it. You can upload a CSV file, you can upload your spreadsheets, and it will actually be able to interact with that data and create reports and run analysis based on what you ask it. The researcher model will go away and do deep research like ChatGPT. So it will spend 20, 30 minutes researching a topic and present that back to you in a paper. Then we've got more role-specific versions of Copilot. So this is Copilot for sales. This is where Microsoft have built a version of Copilot to assist sales teams. It connects to Microsoft Dynamics and Salesforce. It would be great to see HubSpot listed in there as a connector soon, we can hope. But ultimately what this is around is about helping you to do your job in a sales role better, more effectively, pulling information in to help you manage the admin around sales more simply. But what about when we want our own Copilots? Well, with Microsoft Copilot 365, you can create your own agents. And it really is quite simple. You click on Create Agent, and it will ask you to add some instructions. This is your prompt. This is where you're going to tell it the role that it should play, the way that it should respond. You can tell it to reply in a certain style. You can tell it to talk like a pirate if you want. Then you can give access to knowledge. You can connect it to SharePoint folders. You can upload PDFs and Word documents, access to OneDrive, or you can tell it to always visit the public web. So give it certain websites, restrict it to URLs, or tell it to track particular domains. And then you can give it certain tool use. Can it create images? Can it run code? You can give it a bit of an extra flavor. And then you give it a name and you save it. And then every time you open that agent, it's going to behave with all of those properties that you've given it. And you can share that with your team. So you can create the marketing copywriting agent for your team and share that amongst the team. You might be doing events and it's your event planner and it knows how you always want your event structured. You might be a researcher. You might throw in documents and tell it to research certain topics, certain audiences, and identify certain strategic targets for you. It's really quite capable. The limitation on this at the moment is that you can't choose the model. You just get the base model that Microsoft gives you. Whereas with Google Gemini, if you're in the Google Workspace environment, you can create gems. Completely the same principle. Annoyingly, you can't share them with colleagues at the moment. If you create a gem, it's yours and yours only. Hopefully, they'll be changing that in the near future. And then we've got custom GPTs from ChatGPT. With custom GPTs, you can choose the model. So if you create a research tool, like a strategic insight tool, and you need it to be able to use O3, the advanced reasoning model, you can specify that. So it has that advanced intelligence versus the baseline model. The thing is, all of these models, all of these agents that I've spoken about, require human input. They are chat-based still. You are opening the agent, you might have given it a personality, access to certain knowledge, but it's still you questioning it. It's not doing anything on its own. Which takes us to workflow agents. These are really common. You'll see automation agencies popping up left, right, and center saying, we'll build you agents. Most of the time, they're talking about workflows built on tools like Zapier or N8N, and these are trigger-based workflows. So if this, then that. When this condition is met, go through and run these steps. The interesting thing is they can coordinate different tools like HubSpot, like Slack, like Google Sheets or what have you, to go and perform certain tasks, passing data, doing certain things with the data as it moves through. The AI element of this is that we can now put large language models in a step or in multiple steps. So we can get the data from one place, put it into ChatGPT, ask ChatGPT to format the data in a particular way before moving that onto another system. These are all designed by humans. Humans build all of the steps. They determine what happens, what logic must send data which way, what branches must occur. And they operate in discrete task units. So they've got no real memory. Things just keep moving forward. So to give this kind of illustrative example, a very common use case is if you've got a generic inquiries at email inbox, that inbox is getting hit with job applications, with sales inquiries, with people wanting technical support on your products. Someone has to monitor that inbox and say, right, this is going to the sales team, this is a HR job application, this one is a sales inquiry, etc., etc. Well, if we were to just say, well, let's send it to that inbox, but the inbox will now be monitored by the large language model, the AI can now pick up that step, classify the email and say, this email is it's a job application, so send this to the recruitment team. Or this email is a sales inquiry, pass that to the sales team. So we don't have to have someone just doing the routing of that. Now, the kinds of tools that you would build this with would be things like Microsoft Power Automate, Make, Zapier, or Workato. I mean, there's dozens of these tools, I mean, hundreds of them at this point, but these are called iPaaS systems, Integration Platform as a Service, and they will basically connect different platforms together. So here you can kind of use, this is a workflow that you could build when somebody gets added to a HubSpot list. We extract all of the information about that contact, first name, last name, email address, job title, what pages they've looked at on the website, what they've converted on, all of that kind of stuff. And then we feed that into ChatGPT and say, draft an email to that contact, and then put that draft into the sales rep's outbox for them to then review and send. So they've got some pre-drafted emails for the leads that have come in overnight. If you wanted to take it a step further between the HubSpot step and the ChatGPT step, you could inject a step to a search engine, an AI search engine like Perplexity, and tell it to research the company that the person was from, and then inject the information from that bit of research alongside the HubSpot data, feeding that into ChatGPT as well. Another common use case is kind of file processing. So if you have a file that's updated to a shared folder, you can stick that file in, the system will detect there is a new file, whether it's a PDF or an image. You then take that file, drop it into an AI. The AI can then extract the information from that. Let's say it's an invoice. It will be able to extract all of the key information, format it in the way that you need it formatting to pass on to the next system, and then you can integrate it into your spreadsheet or into your database, whatever it may be, without anybody having to manually do that. Now, where we're heading is beyond these kind of simple one or two step workflows into AI orchestration. And this is where AIs start to orchestrate with other AIs, where the handoff of the data passes to another AI system. And they can even, I haven't illustrated it here, but data can come back to the main AI, which will then route it on again. But ultimately, rather than just handing it off to a member of the team, it hands it off to another AI in that team that is then designed to do the processing from there. Every business could benefit from this, pretty much. There's going to be tons of automation points within your organization. You just have to unlock them. And to do that, you need to think about where are decisions being made manually with pieces of information. Where are you routing certain leads? How are you optimizing? How are you making decisions about prioritizing certain activities? Is your team getting bogged down with copying and pasting data between different tools? We've heard about people extracting data and having to put that into a CRM and doing that manually. Is there a way that we can get data from one system, extract that manually and deposit it in the place where we want it to go? Chances are you don't even need AI to do that. You can just build an automation, no-code, low-code solution to do that. But chances are, if you look across your team, you'll find lots of bottlenecks in your processes where things could be automated and streamlined based on some set triggers. However, these are still not true agents. These are just workflows where we've added in AI to grab a little bit of intelligence and format some data or to create a bit of content at a certain point. They're still designed by humans. The workflow is still designed by a human. It's still very narrow in scope. We only use the AI for a couple of different steps. There's no global objective. The AI isn't working autonomously. What we want for true agents is a goal-driven, self-directed system that is given a broad objective, and the AI then plans and executes multi-step actions to achieve it. It has actions to tools. It has persistent reasoning across steps. So rather than just doing its one piece in the workflow, it's executing all of the steps. And if something goes wrong, it can determine what it should do next. It can figure out the steps. It can go back to where it was and correct its course. And it can operate across interfaces and different modalities. This is already available in kind of preview with tools like ChatGPT Operator. Not currently available in the UK, I don't think. You need a US license, but it's available in ChatGPT Pro. This example on screen, it was tasked to find the best reviewed one-day tour of Rome and then book it. So if you think about the steps involved there, it has to go to TripAdvisor, it has to do the search, find some tours, read the reviews, assess the quality of those reviews, and then click book and then go through the checkout process. It does all of that in the browser. It has its own browser interface where it can do all of that. And at the moment, ChatGPT is kind of, or the way that OpenAI have showed this off is very kind of consumer friendly. It can book your holiday. It can order your groceries. But are they thinking that's where the real win is long term? Of course not. They're thinking about what happens if we can get organizations to hire ChatGPT to run round the clock, night and day, to do these tasks. So that your sales team, when you want to build a prospect list, will go online, do the research, go into LinkedIn, find all the data, and then every morning come in with your sales reps and go, here you go, here are the people that you're due to contact today. Or to monitor hot topics and tell you what you should be creating as content for the coming month, running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There are some tools that you can kind of play with now to get a feel for what agents look like. One of them is called Manus. I recommend playing with this. You can get a free account and you can do some very small experiments with the free version. With this one, I asked it to go online and to research a project that is being developed in the East Midlands. And it's the East Midlands free port. Doesn't matter what it is, but I said, create a microsite about the East Midlands free port and the benefits associated to it for businesses in the area. It came up with its own plan. And then this is the kind of outline of the plan. Then it runs through and starts to build it. Here you can see, that was my paragraph at the top on the prompt, design an interactive self-contained microsite, blah, blah, blah. And then it just goes through and you can see that it opens up, you can see, it actually starts creating files. One of the files is its own to-do list. It creates a to-do list, which includes things like, I need to research what this thing is. So it goes on the web and researches what the thing is. And then it starts building the interface. And you can see it runs through, it's got developing the interactive front end, and it does all of that. And it took about, I think this one took somewhere in the region of about 15 minutes to go away, research it, and build it. And actually, this is what it built. That might not work at the moment, I'm not sure, but ultimately, that's the website that it built on the right-hand side. And it did that on its own in about 15 minutes. Now, this isn't going to be your main website, but think about what this looks like. These tools are the worst they're ever going to be today. They're only getting better from here. And when you can deploy a bot that will research the topic, plan the interface, build it, and deploy it in 15 minutes, now that's a basic request, relatively speaking. But in a year's time, what does this unlock for your organization? And to take that a step further, what about when these tools have access to all of your business data? What's the unlock then? ChatGPT recently released connectors. Connectors can integrate with all of the different well, not all of them, but there's a selection of tools that your business may use, including HubSpot. But it can access things like your Gmail, your calendar, Google Drive, GitHub, Dropbox. And you can go into there and you can say, analyze my conversion data on highest converting offers, uncover firmographic patterns, most engaged leads, and then you commission it to do deep research. And it will do that. It will go off and it will research your audience. You can see at the top of that left-hand graphic, it says research completed in 13 minutes from 10 sources. The 10 sources are different sources within your CRM. So this has gone through the CRM, the HubSpot portal, looking at not just the CRM data, but the marketing performance data, landing pages, emails, all of that kind of stuff, and presented it back in a report, including with its own charts and visuals based off that one query. Now, at the moment, this connector only has read capabilities. It can only access the data and draw it down. But there is actually a tool called MCP, Model Context Protocol. If you want to know more about that, speak to me in the lobby afterwards. But that's a way that you can give a large language model the ability to interact with the data in your portal. So I now use my Claude assistant, my chat assistant, to update my CRM, adding the notes autonomously or moving deals through the pipeline stages. In fact, when I first turned it on, the first thing that I did was ask it to show me all of my open deals that, because quite frankly, I'm bad at staying on top of my pipeline, I asked it to tell me which of the deals hadn't been updated for a while. It gave me a list of them. I just typed in some rough notes and told it what needed to be done. And it said, okay, I'll make those changes. And it listed out all the changes and said, do you want me to proceed? I said, yes. It updated my pipeline. I reckon it took no more than 5 to 10 minutes to do that process, which would have taken me probably about an hour to do on my own. Now, these are just some of the ways that these tools are going to be coming into our workforce, that everybody is going to have a powerful assistant that can interact with your business data. So where do you go from here? Well, the first thing is to really understand that assistants are available for everyone. So make sure that you have assistants for all. Whether you've got ChatGPT at the enterprise level deployed, or you haven't deployed any specialist one, but you've got Microsoft Copilot, the free version, dive into that. Educate your team, get your colleagues, your senior stakeholders. If you are in the leadership team, bang the drum and say that people need AI literacy training throughout the organization, because these tools are going to be deployed across every surface of your productivity stack. The free version of Microsoft Copilot at the moment doesn't have access to things like PowerPoint, Excel, Outlook, things like that. But that's changing in the next few weeks. So you're going to have PowerPoint within, Copilot within PowerPoint, within Word. But it's all going to be grounded in the web, not your work environment. A really important thing to know. So the next thing is to look for those opportunities to build workflow agents. These are just automations, but with a bit of AI thrown in at a few steps. Identify where staff are routing inquiries, copying data between different systems, or waiting for approvals, whatever it may be. There'll be loads of candidate opportunities to build these. You can start small and build out more complicated flows as you go. And then really prepare for the agentic future. Agents are being rolled out by Microsoft, by ChatGPT, by Claude, by Google Gemini. They are going to be coming, and they're going to be coming fast. I would say that everyone is talking about 2025 being the year of agents. I think actually we're entering the next maybe decade of agents. And this is going to be a transformation that comes to organizations, big and small, impacting all workforces as we start to have AI colleagues. What does that look like? Anyway, I'll leave you with that. If you're interested in connecting with me, feel free to find me on LinkedIn, Martin Broadhurst, FRSA. You can find me on various places at MP Broadhurst. And I think we might have time for a few questions. Or not. Everyone wants a beer.
It's such an interesting topic, obviously. I'm interested in your thoughts around regulation and when it's coming, if it's coming, and what guise it might look like.
The legislative
Yeah,
layer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so well, we've already got it in the EU. So the EU has already signed off the EU AI Act. That's a really interesting piece of legislation, which is looking at, it's interesting, you know how legislation always has this lag between where the technology actually is. I think the EU AI Act is a really good example of that. When they first started writing it, generative AI wasn't really featuring. And they were talking about AI systems that were designed for like healthcare or how AI is used in finance to make decisions. And these are more about machine learning models that you've trained on your data. A kind of different use case. That, for what it's worth, is really interesting legislation. And I think what they've done with that legislation will serve almost like a boilerplate, like GDPR did around the world for legislative bodies that wanted to think about privacy and data within their own organization. It became like the de facto blueprint that everyone used. So I think the EU AI Act does a good job of that because without getting too into the weeds on it, it talks about harm against the individual and different use cases for AI, depending on how much it infringes on kind of universal rights of the individual. When it comes to generative AI specifically, so we could be talking about things like copyright and fair use of data. Watch this space. Like right now, there is a case going through with Getty Images. They're in a battle with, is that one Stable Diffusion? I'm looking around the room, who might know that one? I think Getty are basically suing Stable Diffusion, one of the image generation models. In America, the New York Times are suing OpenAI. This is active. And I think we have to just kind of hold our breath. What I can say is that all of the organizations providing these tools have said they will indemnify companies against any legal issues that they face through using those models. So if a company gets sued for using ChatGPT, ChatGPT will, well, they say they will indemnify you. How generous they are with that indemnity, I mean, TBC.
And the risk, so I'm curious from a marketing perspective, this requires significant sophistication around automation of API integrations with customer data and the regulations coming around that. That's, in this context with a life sciences background, I'm curious about your thoughts about where that's going.
You mentioned legislation that's coming.
No, not legislation, where you think it's going to come.
To be perfectly honest, I don't think it changes much on the data piece because it changes things dramatically if you've got members of staff using the free version of ChatGPT, because my God, all of that data is going into the training model, and absolutely do not do that. Right? So that's about having good governance in terms of your organization and recognizing that, as ever, the weak link is individuals making bad decisions. However, at the organizational level, if you are using Copilot within the 365 environment, that is within your tenant. So there's very little risk. If you're happy with that customer data sitting in 365 more broadly, then there's no difference having it in 365 as to Copilot. You look like you had a follow-on there.
I'm just curious because we're likely to start to build really sophisticated workflows with customer data. So you talked about sales agents and those flows going through different possible AI integrations. Now, it may be just that the API integration taps into your already data source and it doesn't actually take anything, but it creates a connection that creates potential risk for organisations. And I just wondered if that would ever be regulated in your mind.
I mean, I think there's just good data governance practices and making sure that if you are adding these connectors, in the same way that when you put your GDPR, like, what's the word I'm looking for, the data officer, data controller pieces together, you should be looking at, where are the servers that these things are hosted on. If you're using Microsoft Azure, for instance, and you're using the API to pass data into one of your own internal models that you've deployed on your Azure account, the server that hosts the model will be in Sweden, as opposed to in the US. So if you want to stop the data going over to the US, you would deploy it to your EU-based data center. I think it's just having those kinds of, you've got to have the people that deal with those data flows building on that basis.
Sorry, probably.
It was really great. I'm going to take a lot back, and because I think you explained it really, really well in terms of what's coming next. Just to share a reflection, I was playing with the agent creator this morning in Copilot, and within 10 minutes, I took a Excel document which had a load of kind of benchmarks for paid media, and was able to then have a very simple conversation as to what should I do, what should my plan look like, I've got this budget, where would you invest it? And it's incredible how quickly it can do that. And I think all of us in here are, experts at what we do, but working with naive audiences, I think the agents are really helpful to be able to then take something that would actually be quite complex and you'd need quite a lot of knowledge. But if you can just have it as a normal conversation and it outputs something that is able to be understood by somebody who isn't an expert, I think that's where it has huge power as well in the internal organization.
Yeah, agreed. I think the way that the agents can be shared, the Copilot agents can be built in natural language. You don't need to code them. Anyone can instruct it, and then shared to a team to break something down into kind of, for a lay audience or whatever it may be. Yeah, it's a real win, and I think there's lots of opportunity. With HR, one of the biggest and quickest wins you can get deploying an agent is deploy an agent that explains your HR policies and procedures and benefits packages. Give an AI agent access to all of those tools, and then say, hello employees, here's an agent that will answer all of your questions about maternity and our pensions package and this, that, and the other. It's a very easy, quick win.